Well, it's that time again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the interview with Craig Veltri.
Thank you, Megan Pennington, and welcome to the interview. By day, our guest has been a attorney at law for over 20 years. She is managing partner at Shelley Duff Law and a senior attorney with Schrager Defense, specializing in criminal, civil, and estate law. By night, and more pertinent to our discussion today, she has become one of the busiest artists on the Pittsburgh music scene. Her debut EP, The Color in Black, is an ironically colorful record of introspection. The lead single, Chasing Happiness, will be played at the end of this episode. Recording in Myrtle Beach and her calling in from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, here she is, and referred to for the only time as Shelley Duff, Esquire. Shelley,
Ah,
welcome to the interview.
hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing quite well, counselor. The so 25 years or so as a attorney and in Pennsylvania and in Ohio where you are barred. Music, I'm sure, has always been in the periphery. How has it come to the forefront in the last couple of years?
So I always wanted to be a musician, even when I was little, and my dad played guitar, my mom sang. So like as a family, we were all very musical. And, it was figuring out like what I was going to do for a career. And I thought that law sounded really exciting and, kind of like performing for your jury. And so I went that route, but always had it in my mind that I wanted to be a musician. I always felt like something was missing when I wasn't playing music. So, and I always kind of played an instrument or took lessons. Like, so I started off on violin.
A lot of your promo pictures of your law firm, there is a guitar in the corner. So obviously, you keep one in the office, I gather.
I keep one in the office. It's a good conversation piece. I don't typically play it for the clients, but it's a good conversation starter or, way to make somebody maybe feel more at ease in the office. Anytime somebody is seeing a lawyer, it is never good.
Mhm.
Um, most maybe an adoption or something is positive, but most of the time when your clients are coming in, they are facing something difficult. So it's a good icebreaker, oh, do you play? And then sometimes people tell me they play. So I keep it in there for, a little bit of personality showing me, and then also just to kind of have something a little warm or something a little just to make people feel more at ease.
Now, you mentioned your parents were performing musicians. Is that to say they were full time?
No, so my mom just sang. She didn't really ever perform out. Occasionally I'll have her like do harmonies on something with me,
But
but
you
my
have performed with your dad, I have seen.
I have. My dad, he passed away in 2023, but up until, the very end, he was playing. He played in a band. It was like a big band where they had, I think, I don't know how many people, members in the band, like 10 to 20 different members, a big horn band, did a lot of like big band music. He played at the Shriners a lot, and he played guitar. So even when I was little, I remember my dad playing guitar and my mom singing and sitting around the living room and, just being musical as kids. So my sister played piano and then I started off on violin and just always played an instrument ever since I was little. So that was something they instilled in us was getting a foundation of learning how to play an instrument in music. And it was all music was always around the house, always on. My mom always sang into the radio, my dad always playing guitar. So it's something that I dealt with, and had in my whole life that I think influenced me to pursue music.
And you started on violin. When did the guitar come into the picture?
So it was always around because my dad had them around. But it was real like I always would like pick it up and play like, your G, D, C, A minor chords. And then I would say like 10 to 12 years ago, I decided I'm just gonna focus on playing guitar and learn how to actually like play this thing. So I probably like 10 to 12 years of guitar. But I played drums in between then too. So while I was in high school, I took drum lessons and played drums. So I think that helps, like, because you're an acoustic musician that like we got to keep our own rhythm. And I really feel like the drum background also kind of helped me with playing rhythm guitar and
I've
going that
always said to anybody that's starting, or at least trying to make people understand beginning mechanics of guitar, I'm my right hand is my dominant hand, which means that's my strumming hand. And you can do a lot of cool things with your fret hand and do a lot of theatrics, but this is the money maker. Palm muting and being able to keep different rhythms. I mean, just watch Stevie Ray Vaughan. Sure, he's doing all theatrics, but that right hand was really how he had all of that skill. And even though you had been in having your own practice and you've had was it really just a matter of your law practice and all the ways that you were involved in the law? Was that so time consuming that you were having trouble getting out and eventually you just had to barge through and go through with this?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely started off a lot slower than things have been in the past few years with how much I've been playing. And yes, so it's tough because law can be very time consuming. A lot of cases are time consuming. I'm stressed. Like people, I get a lot of comments like, "How do you do it?" I'm like, "Oh, trust me, it's stressful trying to get everything done and everything." But what I always feel is like I will have a very long day. Like I remember, I did a homicide jury trial, and I had to sing. At that time, I was in a disco band, and I had to sing the day of like the verdict came out. Like I had just gone through like a week-long homicide jury trial and then verdict day, and then I had to go and get ready and I had to sing. And what I always tell everybody is like, I'm exhausted. Like I get there, I'm so tired, but the minute I start playing music, the minute I start singing, I feel like the energy just coming back to me and like rejuvenating me because I love to do it. So I feel like, yes, it's a lot to juggle, but I really wouldn't want it any other way because music gives back to me so much energy. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, with he's not a lawyer, but he won an Oscar for playing one. Tom Hanks once said that he would never want to be a lawyer because it just seems like doing homework every day. Do you find that statement to be accurate?
Yeah, pretty much so. And then you got all kinds of law changes and you got to keep up with it. So it's not like it's just like you learn it and then you're done. You have to constantly, do and keep up on all the new changes in the law, especially recently. There's been a lot of stuff happening, but also it's never black and white. So like if you're doing math, so my dad was an engineer and there was a definitive answer. If you're doing something and calculating, you have to come up with a particular answer. Whereas in law, there is no answer. It's you never know. You're depending on a judge or a jury or a Supreme Court to make a decision where you don't exactly know what that answer is going to be. So you're arguing something, and then you have somebody every day that I go into work, I have somebody that wants the exact opposite of what I want. So we're not on the same page. Like I want this person wants the complete opposite. So it's usually some type of gray area where the result ends up, where a little bit of compromise on both parts.
It's why you practice law and study law and even same thing with music. Do you find that it's a similar thing trying to keep up with trends and other things as far as your set list is concerned?
I'm always learning new songs. So when I'm playing covers, I always want to play everything from new stuff to, oldies and things that people know. And I'm always trying to keep it interesting. And I want to do a different show at different places. I don't want to keep doing the same thing all the time. So we, as musicians, how do I want to say this? Like, I know I have original music coming out, but I also want to play stuff that people know and love. So it's about them, it's about your audience, it's about them enjoying the music. So every night I'll get somebody requesting, like, hey, do you do any Carly Simon? And I'm like, no, but I'm gonna learn it. And then I'll go home and I'll learn some Carly Simon or, whatever people want to hear. I tend to want to learn the songs, but it keeps it interesting for me too. I don't mind learning and doing new tunes. I'm probably learning like a new song a week.
it- go to Nashville, and there's a reason why there's one bar in particular, Tootsie's. It's called Honky Tonk University. If you get on there, you are learning the Broadway 100 on the fly. So and it kind of gets to the point with me that if I hear a song maybe two or three times in a week, and I do play that much, okay, I guess I gotta go home and listen to well, I haven't gone so far as to go home and actually learn a Chapel Roan song, but I haven't ruled it out. So,
So
uh,
listen, Pink Pony Club is like everybody wants that song. And even people you don't think are gonna like it. I'm like, all right, we're gonna just do Pink Pony Club and see what happens. And you see people that you wouldn't expect like singing along with it and liking it. So you gotta learn it. I think you should do it.
um, I mm, no, but I will. But I am trying to figure out a way to do "Good Luck, Babe," which I do think is the strongest song off of that record, and I
I
do
like that song too.
admire that work. We're here with Shelley Duff on the Craig Veltri interview, a service of Scarfire Media. For more on Scarfire Media, visit our website at scarfireradio.net. Check out the Flame, check out the Indie Musician Catalog, and all the great shows on the Scarfire Media Podcast Network, including the Cool Brother Podcast, the Lucky Pad, and of course the Mothership Fire Pit. Let's talk about The Color in Black. You've been playing music all your life. Is that to say you've been writing concurrently with that?
Yes. So I have always written songs, but this is my first release because of, I don't want to make this a too long of an answer.
We
Um,
got time.
okay. So I have always written, but never recorded it for many reasons, whether I didn't feel like it was good enough or that I was good enough and that self-doubt in my mind, or I just didn't have the time. So I have been writing all along, but you know how your tastes change as the years and things go on. So stuff that I wrote many years ago, I'm like, I don't really want to record that. And just with everything with like my dad passing and like getting older, I'm like, well, maybe I should not have any regrets about not recording my original music at some point. So last year, and honestly, to the day, because I looked this up, I did my first session. I recorded at the Vault in Pittsburgh and Neville Island.
Know it well.
An
Know
amazing,
of it anyway.
the great recording studio. My first recording session on the CP was June 24th. I think it was June 24th of last year. So this whole process has been a year doing these songs. But I just really wanted to start putting out original music and doing my own original music, as well as doing what I'm doing now with the covers.
A lot of the songs that you have written, though, that takes a lot of liberties with soundscape. I will ask just about the overall tone and sound of the songs that you had written. The Because it goes all over the place. I mean, Distraction, which you end the album with, sounds like it would be right at home on a John Hughes movie soundtrack.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's really what I was going for.
And The Color in Black and Chasing Happiness, all of those songs would sound right at home in the middle of Lilith Fair. So the taste and eclecticness, is this like it's like a time capsule of when you wrote these songs, or is it just how it came out in the studio?
Um, I how do I want to say this? I like so many different styles of music. And I'm a big 80s girl. Like I love the 80s sound. So Distraction, which is the last song on the album, was actually the first one that I wrote and wanted to record. So I actually dreamt Distraction. I woke up with it in my head, and this happens so often, and I don't record it. So I've had maybe five or six like recently songs like in my head, and I'm like, oh, when I get out of bed, I'll remember it, and then I don't. But
Mhm.
Distraction, right? Like you never do. So now I keep my phone by my bed, like ready to go. And if I have a melody in my head when I wake up, I have learned just sing it in the phone and then, get it down. But I woke up with Distraction in my head to the point where I was like, is this a song already? And like, why am I singing this? So I put it in my phone and, finished out kind of the lyrics and I sent it off to Joe Monroe, if you know Joe,
I do
amazing
not.
keyboard player. So I sent it off to Joe and I was like, I want an 80s, like I want this to sound like 80s pop tune. So that's why that has that like super 80s sounding type of like riff keyboard kind of thing going on in it. And the Color in Black, still kind of like an 80s vibe, maybe more a little like Fleetwood Mac-ish,
Yeah, Tango in
but
the
like
Night era.
ethereal. So I hope it's cohesive and that the album has, a cohesive kind of feel throughout. But there are some definitely different styles with the different songs.
And we'll definitely talk about the inclusion of a Depeche Mode cover in just a second. But to your original compositions, they do seem to be that of introspection and soul searching. I guess the question that stands from listening to this record, are you any closer to finding what you were looking for?
Um, what a loaded question.
Mm.
So yes, because I feel like doing the original music is where I want to be and what I'm now in my life like ready to pursue. Like for instance, chasing happiness came about because somebody said to me that I'm constantly like reaching a goal and being like, okay, cool. And then I'm like on to the next thing. Like, all right, and so that's where it's like I get what I want and then I want more because I don't ever celebrate my wins. And, I get like an accomplishment, something great, and then I'm like, yeah, all right, but I want to do something else. So a lot of in writing the song, especially that one, that's where that one kind of came from. But I wanted to also make it stuff that other people can relate to as well. Because I think we all have a little bit of that in us where, we're just constantly looking forward to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, and
We're never satisfied.
we're never satisfied. We're not grateful for what we have already. So that's kind of where that was, kind of come from and came from. And I try to write about things that are maybe not like a really happy subject, but make them, for me, it's important to have a catchy melody, like above anything else. Like it has to have a catchy melody.
It's your hook.
Got to get it, got to get my hook. It's got to be catchy, poppy type of melody on it. So even though the melodies might be happy, like Distraction, it's not really a happy topic or a happy song.
It's a very frantic search for a distraction or feeling distraction.
Yes, exactly.
The one cover that you chose, the classic Depeche Mode song, People Are People. Now, when you have a song so iconic, you can't help but draw distinct comparisons and distinct analysis. And the thing that I came away from it with was this: that song had a certain tension within that keyboard line and within the vocal delivery that almost suggested a sincere confusion and a sincere angst about why can't we all just get along. The production choice that you have employed, if there is synth, I don't hear it. You take guitars right to it and just blast it right through the speakers and saying, no, this is bullshit. We should all get along. Was that intentional as far as the production choice is concerned? Why did you make the instrumentation choices that you did with People Are People?
So I write on guitar. So when I'm doing a song, writing an original or the cover of it, I'm working that song out like we do at our shows on guitar because that's my instrument. So when I sat down with People Are People, and so here's why I picked that. I love Depeche Mode, one of my favorite all-time bands, and a very like in my growing up era of high school, like that was what I was listening to, the new wave, the 90s, the dark, I still love all of that stuff. And I wanted to do a cover of a song that was like something that was important to me from my past and an 80s tune, and it was Depeche Mode. So I felt like we need that song right now,
Mm-hmm.
especially like now more than ever. And I'm very aware of, how tumultuous the world is right now. And it just seems like there's a lot of hatred. It's always there, but feels a little bit more recent. And I thought that song is poignant. It's very obvious what they're writing about. They're not trying, the words are like, it is what it is. People are people. Why can it be you and I can get along so awfully? Like it is, the words are the words. And I'm like, how can I do this song that is going to be something in my way. Like when you listen to it, it's really 80s. The sounds and everything that are in there are super synthy 80s. So I came up with the guitar, kind of like the riff for it and sent it off to the producers. And I did second guess myself, like, am I going to be able to pull this off? We're so different from the original of it. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. There is synth in there, and but it's also kind of buried in with the guitars. But I'm happy with the way it turned out. I think it turned out rocking and cool and just a completely different version of it. And, my voice isn't angry. I feel like I have a clear sounding, kind of not angry type of gravelly voice. So I feel like that's a good mix for, the lyric of the song plus the harder guitars and then like my voice with it. So I'm happy with the way it turned out.
You were kind of the sugar to what could have been a very bitter blend with the guitar on it, and I do think you pulled it off, and I congratulate you on doing your thing, dog. You did your thing, dog. We're here
Thanks.
with Shelley Duff here on the Craig Veltri interview on the Scarfire Media Podcast Network. So you are continuing to tour around the Pittsburgh music scene solo, sometimes with accompaniment, sometimes with the Shelley Duff Band. You are barred in another state. Are we looking at reaching further out into the tri-state, maybe Maryland? Where are you taking this? How far away from Pittsburgh are you hoping that this takes you?
So you mean the music,
The music.
not the law career. Um, so as far as I
I mean,
can
do you
go,
have designs of becoming a U.S. attorney or a justice at some point?
I don't. I'm happy where I am. Pennsylvania and Ohio keep me busy enough, so we're just gonna stick there. But as far as the music goes, I'm open to wherever it takes me. So if I can play in, whatever other states and people are listening to my music all over, ultimately to me, that's the goal. Like I want to have a reach far beyond and have people listen to it anywhere. So I'm open to wherever. I don't really have any expectations, so I'm just kind of like whatever happens, happens. Whoever wants to book me and whatever location, I'd love to travel, so bring it on. Maybe Myrtle Beach.
I know some people if you want some contacts. The first record that you have done here. I know that there's more songs where that came from. How many and how soon are you planning on hitting the studio again with your stuff?
I'm gonna hit in the fall. I want to get through. I hate to say get through because that's not what I mean to say because this is such like a great time in my life with this coming out. But I want to put the release out. I want to do my summer shows, have people, hear these songs, get familiar with these songs, and then things do slow down in the fall as far as we're busy in the summer.
Oh
So many
yeah,
festivals, outdoor venues.
literally making money while making hay while the sun shines, as the saying
Exactly.
goes.
So I'm going to start writing and having some more, and I already have some ideas for my next few songs, but most likely going back into the studio in the fall and then maybe doing another 5, 6 song EP again. We'll see. We'll see. I'm open to whatever. I might start just releasing like one at a time too. So, because I did, instead of doing one at a time, I just decided to do a chunk. It started off, I wanted to do three, then I had a couple more, then I had five, and then it was like, well, let's add a cover. Then it was six. So I'm like, all right, we're stopping here because I'm gonna have a full album at this point. I want to get this stuff out. So,
I find that the EP approach is a pretty good one, the singles approach as well, but I'm at the point where I am constantly working and I'm constantly writing and I'm also constantly trying to scramble to actually find producers that are affordable. I'm kind of at a point where I'm backlogged on it. And so I'm basically looking at two records coming out within the next year full length myself. So it's good that you find that you found the space and you've also seemed to been able to be able to keep a consistency with what you do. So that's really good to have currently coming out of the gate. Unlike the Pittsburgh Pirates, who came out of the gate pretty awful, and
oh,
we are both long-suffering Buccos fans. I do want to talk a little bit about your fandom. I think you would have been. It sounds like you probably would have been around. When did you come to becoming a baseball fan? Was this something with your family that you hanging out at Three Rivers Stadium back in the day?
So always had baseball on. My grandma, she lived with us. She would listen to the game. So it was always kind of like in the background. And I just, love baseball, love the Pirates.
Did
Um,
you play softball back
I
in
did.
high
I played
school?
softball. Yep. So, yeah, I don't know if I could think of like when all of a sudden I just kind of became a fan, but it's tough to be a Pirate fan,
Yeah.
as you know, it's
Oh,
heartbreaking. And every year I'm like, okay, it's going to be a good year. And I had such high hopes for this year. And I'm like, oh. So, question for you, do you think we can turn the season around? What are your thoughts?
I think that this team was at its best a middling team with Derek Shelton, and right now I think Don Kelly, as we record this episode, and I like him. I like his intensity. I don't think the team has given up on him from what I've seen on the field from them. But I also think that as far as the product on the field is concerned, he can only do so much with that batting order and with that bullpen.
Yeah.
So it's gotta come to us in draft and in free agency. And as we have seen, they will pinch their pennies as much as humanly possible. I don't want to be one of the other people that wants to post every time nutting sell the team, but I think enough is enough with some of the stuff that didn't happen on the field with his administrative administration, which is my question to you. Are you on the sell nutting sell train?
You know, I try to be diplomatic in my answers, but I feel like if you're going to own a team, here's how I feel about things. If you're a business owner, you want to be profitable. We get that. So you're going to try to find ways to make your business as profitable as possible. And the Pirates are profitable. However, when you have something like baseball, which is a beloved classic sport that so many people love and so many people in Pittsburgh. Like the thing about Pittsburghers, we are loyal. We will be loyal to, the Pirates, to musicians, to everything. Like we will be behind you. We will support you. Um,
You just got to win. We
we
have
just gotta
jobs.
win. Like if we started winning, I mean, we would be packing that place. Like we are loyal. We want a team. But when you have
See the
something
early teens.
right? Like we want a winning team. And when you own something like a baseball team that so many other people are emotionally invested in, that, can bring energy to the city, vitality to the city, the businesses around the ballpark, rely on people coming in to go to the games. Like I feel like it's beyond where it's just you owning a company that's profitable and that you have an owe something to the city and something to the fans to put the best possible team that you can put on that field for your city. I mean, we might not have a budget of a Dodgers or a Mets and Yankees. Maybe that's not feasible, but there's got to be a way to. And I get baseball's broken. We can have a long conversation about this as far
Oh,
as
I agree, and
like
I can go all the way down to interleague play, but for me, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, the Royals, for heaven's sake, put together a
exactly
World Series team
the
together. The
Brewers,
Athletics,
right? Like you've got teams that are smaller market that like Pittsburgh is the same, our size city is equal to St. Louis, to Brewer, so it's not
everything
that.
but Chicago within division. They're not exactly small market.
And look at the Guardians last year, almost making the World Series. So it's, that's what I'm trying to say. And I always try to be, like I said, I want to be diplomatic about things. I get that people own businesses want to be profitable, but like, come on, give us something. Like, give us something so that we have some type of competitive team. Like, how did you feel about Chapman? Should we have kept Chapman? I mean,
I don't think
I know
so,
you and
but
I
I
talked
mean,
about that a lot last
for
year.
for I think with Aroldis Chapman, he was so his thing about him is when he gets hot, he gets as hot as his fastball, and when he is erratic, he will lose you games. And unfortunately, I think that might be getting contagious to one David Bednar. And I mean, his arm has fallen off. He's had to win too many games, it seems. And just on more on the macro as opposed to the micro as far as who's on the team at this point. PNC Park's lease is up in 2030. So the clock is ticking and the Yinzers are growing restless.
The
So
Yinders are restless. Like that's the thing. Like we haven't been good for a long time, but I'm feeling, and you're probably feeling it too. And I think it happened because of having Skeens on the team, that there was a little bit of optimism. Like when we got Lemieux, as the Penguins weren't good, and then we got Lemieux. We built a team around Lemieux and won Stanley Cups, and we want that. Like we have Skeens. Like let's build and let's bring in some money. Let's bring in some people that can support him with getting some runs, winning some games.
I
We
would
can't
argue that
win
I
with
think that
one run, you know?
yeah. I mean, if I saw a really sickening statistic, if the Pittsburgh Pirates could have generated 4 runs in every single one of Paul Skeens' starts, Paul Skeens would be 26-1, something ridiculous like that. So I would welcome the building of it, and I think they would argue we thought we did, but unfortunately, due to poor management and poor bat coaching, uh, Brian Hayes has taken a step back. Brian Reynolds has taken a step back. Really, the only people within the lineup that are showing glimmers are is really O'Neill Cruz. Henry Davis has come out of nowhere, showing to be clutch, and I do think the bats are getting better. They're just not getting hot enough to climb out of the hole they've already digged. So I'm already on the maybe next year wagon on this one.
I know. So disappointing.
Well, so we'll get to more dates and everything else going, but we got a nice way of closing here on the Craig Veltri interview. It is called the No Kidding Questionnaire, a couple of rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to your mind, whenever you're ready, and away we go. Childhood celebrity crush.
Say that again.
Childhood celebrity crush.
Oh my gosh. Probably John Bon Jovi. I don't know. First one came to my mind.
One of the best live shows I ever saw at Heinz Field 2006, the Steelers celebration. Nickelback opening, and at that point I understand why people hated Nickelback, but great show. I've spoken to Hugh McDonald in his band out in Nashville a couple times. Great guy in his own right. Not in anybody's right. Great guy. What was it about John Bon Jovi? Was it the hair? Was it the eyes? Was it the voice? Was it the songs? What was it about the guy? What
Probably
is
the
it about the guy?
hair, the swagger, you know. Yeah. I don't I
Do you have a preference of record, favorite song?
I like the older stuff, like Runaway, like the stuff like right in the beginning was probably more so than like Living on a Prayer later on. I like the stuff that was
You Even John Bon Jovi hates the second record. You might be the only one that likes the second record. In and out of love. Uh, well, favorite subject in school.
Art.
Were you more of a painter, sculptor, and is that something you keep up with?
Yes. So both. I love to draw, pencil sketches, painting. I did oil paintings. I did sculpture. I keep up with I'll do pencil sketches now, and I have an art kit. I don't really do oil paintings anymore just because of the time, but I love to draw. I love sketching. I got the art award in school. Like,
The album art on the Color in Black sounds a lot like that stuff. So was that your handiwork?
yeah, I did all the art. I did the photos on my own. I did the front cover, the photo.
What would you say the theme of that picture and that painting, that piece? What do you think that it signifies for your themes in the record? How does it tie together?
Yeah, so it was a color photo, obviously. I took that in the mountains, and I like the idea of the shadows, the dark, but then you also can see like a little bit of light through the top of the trees a little bit. So without kind of giving away what the color in black, I know we didn't really kind of touch on this, but that I was trying to come up with a way. Black is my favorite color. It's always been my favorite color ever since I was little. And I wanted to kind of come up with a way in writing that song in find like when you find something that nobody else can see or seeing something that's not there. So I got into a discussion with somebody as to whether black was a color because I said black is my favorite color. They said black's not a color. And it's the absence of color. So that I had that in my mind writing that song. So that's kind of
Tell
how
that to
that
anybody that spilled ink.
you're right. It's a color. You could buy the paint. You could buy black paint. It's definitely a color. So yeah, that's kind of how they came about. And I wanted something, I didn't want my face on the cover. I wanted something just a little more artistic, and I like that photo.
Why is black your favorite color?
I have no idea. I feel like even as a little kid, like my mom will tell the story where I was like little, and I'm at like my birthday cake, and the lady's like, "We'll put the icing on, whatever color is your favorite color, honey." And my mom's like, "Don't ask her that. It's black." I'm not sure. I just like it. I feel like it's powerful.
Perhaps she wasn't a fan of licorice flavoring. She was afraid of that.
Licorice flavoring birthday cake would be very interesting.
Oh God. Well, some people I can hear the heavy drinkers in the audience saying it's like, well, it'd be awesome if you did if you like fused it with Jägermeister, that might be kind of an interesting fusion. And then I hope they go to rehab. And moving on, what occupation other than your own would you like to attempt?
Ooh. Oh geez, I'm drawing
You
a
do
blank.
so much.
Right? Like, you mean not being a lawyer or a musician, what would I want to do?
Or an artist or anything else you might have made money.
Honestly, like this, it's not, I don't know if it's an occupation, but I would love to be like a professional ice skater. That would be professional ice skater, skier. But if I had to pick like a job, like a desk job or a day job, probably something like maybe marketing, something creative.
I'm sure you're finding that there's a component of that within the music industry and even in promoting your own practice and law. But let's go back to ice being a figure skater. Do you actually skate? Is that something you've done?
I did. So I skated growing up and then took like a big time off from it. And then this past November, I went to New York City and I skated in Rockefeller Center.
I've done
I
that.
remembered how to skate. Like I'm like out on the ice, like, okay, I didn't forget. And I took a video and I sent it to my mom, and she's like, look how happy you are. So I bought a new pair of figure skates, and I try to go as much as possible. I went a bunch in the winter, and then there's some indoor places, and I've been going when I can squeeze it in and just going around and skating. So, one thing too that I want to say is like, you're never too old. When people are like, oh, I wish I would have done that, right? Like, don't you agree with that? And like, so I might not ever be an Olympian, but I could still skate. Like whatever you want to do, you're not too old to try something new or to start something that you did when you were a kid and had a big gap in between. And so I feel like that's another part of the message that I want to get out to people with like putting original music out is that if there's something you want to do it. You're not too old to doing it, right? Like there's no
I
age limit.
I kicked this part of my life off when I was 28, I think it was, and I put out my first record when I was 29. So they say that it is a young man's game, and maybe I'm not. I'm too old for Tiger Beat, but and actually that's not true because I think Springfield was on covers at about my age. So maybe the press. Not that I'm not going to go there. But the point is that that no, it is you're never too old to start anything. And you show me somebody who says, "I wish I could do what you do." I will show you somebody who's really saying, "I don't want to do the work." Plain simple. Sorry if I hurt someone's feelings. On the other side of the coin, Ms. Duff, what job? I don't care how many bags of money are handed to you. Would you never want to attempt? And yes, it
Very
could be something you've done
yes.
before.
Very easy answer. Anything in the medical profession and especially a nurse.
Hmm.
I could not listen. I give them so much credit. Like an EMT, a nurse, um, could never, ever do that job. So kudos to anybody out there that is doing that. You have my most utmost respect. I could not do that job.
Is it for what reason?
Many reasons.
Okay.
Many
I,
reasons.
I've answered this questionnaire a couple of times, and that is my answer. And I say this as the grandson of a nurse, the nephew of a nurse, and the cousin of a doctor. I could never do that job because I never want to be the one to walk into a waiting room and say to a family, I'm sorry, we've done all they could, but they're gone. Could not do it.
Yeah. Well, but that's the equivalent, sort of. That's much worse. And I certainly don't want to make light of this at all, but telling somebody they're going to jail, that is not fun either. And I think that all the time, like giving somebody that bad news of like, you have this diagnosis or, whatever, and how giving that news to somebody and having that, like, it's part of my job, bad news to certain things. But yeah, I memean, that's just one small reason why I wouldn't want to be in the medical profession. But I just think that nurses, EMT, doctors, dealing with, you know, the body, the people, I don't have the stomach for it. I don't have the ability to do it. So,
Yeah, stomach as well. And I'd have to give up drinking coffee. My hands are not very
same, I
steady.
know.
Uh, well, now that we have built up a healthy appetite, what is your go-to food on a road trip?
Okay, my favorite food is a soft pretzel. Like if I can get that from anywhere, that's my like I need a soft pretzel. Sheets has really good soft pretzels. We can get a Sheets endorsement. You can get it with like regular, you can get cinnamon sugar. So yeah, soft pretzel is my thing.
Side of mustard, side of cheese.
Sure. Bring it on. Just depends on what you're in the mood for that particular day,
Bottle of red, bottle of white, side of
right?
mustard, side of cheese. Uh, what is, if you could have dinner, possibly including a soft pretzel, with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh, who would it be? Um, Still alive, maybe Jimmy Page, one of my favorite guitar players. Just like to sit down, have a chat with him about life.
Possibly the occult, or just
Exactly.
confirm or see if
I
he'll
didn't want to go
confirm
that
his dark
direction.
story.
I thought life encompassed, all of that. But yeah, Jimmy Page.
Zeppelin is definitely been a north star for me. I wish I could sing with consistency as high as Plant does, but yeah, he but Page seems just a wealth of eclectic music, more than people give credit for. So that would I'd try to get in on that dinner too. Shelley, I don't know if this is going to be a quick response or a slow response because there's so many. But what is your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, left-hand drivers and left lane drivers on the highway.
Oh God.
Biggest pet peeve, like they're blocking traffic. I drive a lot. Listen, with court, you're driving all over the place, and I'll go to different counties, so I'm on the road all the time. And those people that are driving too slow in the left lane they're holding everybody else up. Big pet peeve. I try to be like, I love everybody. I'm so happy, and I'm like, get the hell out of the way,
Oh, we
So,
turn into our true selves when
oh
we're behind the
yes, we
wheel of a
do.
car.
Bad drivers. So we can just encompass it by saying just bad drivers, distracted drivers, people that are not paying attention, rushing around, hurting, putting other people in danger. And then, you're at the light and you're like right there with them. It's like, okay, so was that worth it? No, but get out of the
The
left
worst.
lane if you're driving and there's nobody in the right lane and you're not passing anybody. Just get in the right lane.
Yes. The worst are the so-called professional drivers, the big rig drivers that are constantly in the left lane and are nowhere near 80 driving down the road. Off to the side, the ones that are trying to do 80 or more and are trying to get somewhere on a deadline as well. Musician of multi-states speaking here. Yeah, move to the side.
You feel me on that.
I feel you so much, and I'd like for us to stay monetized. Last question to the questionnaire. We have to have listeners to be monetized. What last question to the questionnaire, and we thank all of you that do listen. What is the best advice that anyone has ever given
Ooh. Um, Two things come to mind. Best advice. So this is from a person who has a podcast. He has a transformational coaching program named Jim Fortin. And he said, let people have their own experience of life. And that always sticks in my mind. because you see somebody and like, why do they think that? Why do they believe that? Why do they do that? Why do they dress like that? And it's like, let them have their own experience of life instead of trying to control what other people are doing. And honestly, like that little nugget of wisdom has been so impactful in my life of like just not letting other people, aside from the left lane driving, I don't want to contradict myself.
Yeah, let's
You're
not give them a
not allowed
pass.
that
They're not letting us.
you're not allowed to have your own experience of life by driving slow in the left lane. But it just, why is that person doing that, or why do they do that? Just let people have, as long as they're not harming another person or animal, let people do their thing. Let them wear what they want, do what they want, marry who they want, love, so that was something to me, instead of like me putting my opinions on how other people are living their life, it just kind of like frees you up to just not be judgmental. Does that make sense?
Live and let live. Absolutely.
Live and let live. Yeah.
And you said there was a second one?
Yeah. I mean, the other one's kind of along, like the same lines of like just not being attached to outcomes of things. Like, like the record, putting it out there, but not having an attachment on what happens because we don't know one little thing can lead to something, can lead to something. And sometimes when we're so attached to a particular outcome and it doesn't go that way, but we didn't realize that the way that it went the other way was it opened up more doors, for other things that you didn't even comprehend was a possibility. I don't know if I'm explaining that right or not, but
Oh
sometimes
no,
like,
perfectly. I automatically feel like looking at deep into the eyes of George Lucas for some reason. But and because you go into any artistic venture, it's almost like an experiment. And if you're really active about seeing what the outcome is going to be, you're probably going to manipulate the ending and you're not going to have an honest result for the experiment for which you are conducting.
exactly. Exactly. Like let whoever wants to hear it without having like a particular expectation that this many people need to come to the show, this many people need to download it. Like put it out there and see what opportunities present themselves, see what happens. Just, do your thing, but don't be attached to a particular result.
Absolutely. Good dating advice, I think, as well. But the I like to give you a bonus question. I usually have a bonus question for teachers. This one I will, from here on, give to lawyers. What is the best legal advice that you can give?
So there's a lot of legal advice I can give.
I'm sure
Here's
you
something.
can.
I deal with this quite a lot for people, and I always tell them and now I'm just going to talk about Pennsylvania and Ohio because I don't really know how this works in other states as well. But if you get pulled over by a police officer and they ask you to submit to a chemical test of your breath or blood and you refuse that test, you're going to get a license suspension for 1 year.
Mhm.
Do not refuse the test. Now, with that said, there are some, I don't want to get too complicated. If you've had multiple DUIs, that advice might change. But for the people who have never been in trouble before, they get pulled over and the cop says, "Hey, I want you to submit to a blood draw." And you say no, you are going to have you might not even be DUI. Like you might be completely sober. But if the officer has a reason to think you might be under the influence of something and he or she asks you to take that test and you say no, you are going to be suspended by PennDOT for a year. So take the chemical test, period. Unless you've had multiples, and then call me and I'll help you out. But when people refuse and they're like, "Hey, I got a suspension for a year," there's not a whole lot I can do. So that's
Uh,
my advice.
I've always kind of gone on the modus operandi when it comes to the police. Speak when spoken to, and do everything you possibly can not to incriminate yourself. Say everything to your lawyer, say as little as possible to the cops. Would that be a way of going about stuff?
Yeah, but if they're asking you to take that test, and I don't want to get too complicated on it, but when you have a driver's license, it's called an implied consent. So when
Right.
you get that card, you are telling the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that if a police officer asks you to submit to a test, because driving is a privilege, it's not a right, you're agreeing that you're going to take that test. So if you don't take it, then the Commonwealth Department of Transportation is going to punish you by giving you a 1 year suspension on your license. So you want to not say as much to the police, I would agree with that's good advice. But if they ask you to take that test, take it.
Well, thankfully, I will be as of this recording. Actually, as this episode released, I will be 3 years sober, so not a problem for me today. But good. But I'll just say this up front, ladies and gentlemen, don't drink and drive. And with that, we have come to the part of the show that every single guest on the Craig Veltri interview should enjoy the most. It is time for shameless self-promotion. The Color in Black is available as this episode drops on June 27th. Where can we find it, and where can we find you, Counselor? Fire away.
So it should be up on streaming platforms, Amazon, on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, everything on June 25th, which is next Wednesday, the new moon. So it should be up at that. I say should, but just because things are out of my control, it's sent off. You never know what's going to happen. So just putting it out there that if everything goes as planned, it'll be released on streaming platforms on Wednesday, June 25th. And you can find me on Instagram, Shelley Duff. So Shelley is Shelley Duff. I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Threads, and then shelleyduff.com. And then I'll be on all the streaming platforms as well. And then I'm going to post my schedule so that you can come out and see live shows. I have an EP release. I don't know when this episode's coming out.
June 27th.
So it'll be already out by then.
Yes.
And you're going to miss my EP pre-release party, which is on Monday, the 23rd. But so yes, find me, download, listen to The Color in Black.
And one thing I will say, you will find that when dealing with digital distributors, they will bear a lot of resemblance to people who drive slow in the left lane.
I know. Listen, I've already had a little snafu with the distribution and the codes embedded in the song. So I had to move from one distributor to another distributor. So I am learning this process and trying, like I'm using my own advice, not getting attached to anything and just going with the flow.
Well, it shows in the record. It shows in just your overall demeanor. It's a joy to know you. I'm thrilled with what you have put forth, and I look forward to what's next in all aspects of everything. Shelley Duff, thank you so much for joining me today on the Craig Veltri interview.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
The Craig Veltri interview, where Craig Veltri interviews wonderful people, is a production of Scarfire Media, the voice of the independent arts. Written and edited by Craig Veltri. Your announcer is Megan Pennington. The opening theme, Shut Up, I Love You, written by Trenton Chandler and Craig Veltri, performed by Craig Veltri, produced by Jack Gavin. Just dropped on streaming this past week, the Off the Row Sessions, the series of singles that I recorded with P.T. Houston at Off the Row Studios in Franklin, Tennessee back in 2020. The singles include Making Noise on Music Row, Wander and I, The Other Man, and Biloxi. They are now available in one collection on streaming. Download it today. Also available in physical media, The Letters to the Defendant limited edition vinyl LP. Just send $35 to my Venmo at Craig-Veltri, Zelle, CraigVeltriOfficial at gmail.com, and to my Cash App, or to my Cash App, $ Craig Veltri. I will sign a copy for you if you ask. Here's who's playing Biloxi now. Musicvideohype.com, my music video channel. The Ranch with Randy O'Neill, Exposed Vocals, The Chubb Show, Jazz's Rock and Road Show on Music to the 412, and of course, The Mothership here on the Scarfire Media Podcast Network. Fire Pit, thank you so much for the coverage. Speaking of coverage, time now to update the event calendar because you must know where I'm at all times. Let's see how much ground we can cover this week. Friday, June 27th, my third anniversary of continuous sobriety. I will be at the Sneaky Beagle in Myrtle Beach, Carolina Forest to be specific, from 6 to 9 p.m. Saturday, June 28th, Black Drum Brewing from 6 to 9 p.m. on Kingston Plantation in Myrtle Beach. Then Sunday, June 29th, Baywatch Resorts on Atlantic Beach from 1 to 4 p.m. All those gigs brought to you by Sandpiper Entertainment. Then on Monday, June 30th, Bigham Tavern, Mount Washington, brought to you by Root Dan Entertainment. I had to throw a Pittsburgh accent for that one, from 7 to 10 p.m. Then on Thursday, July 3rd, Tin Roof Myrtle Beach from 6 to 9 p.m. For more dates, including Pittsburgh, Memphis, and Nashville, check out my brand new website, craigveltri.bandzoogle.com, for booking info, including full band and this podcast. Email me at craigveltriofficial@gmail.com. You can find the interview on Facebook by searching the Craig Veltri interview, YouTube at Craig Veltri Music, TikTok at Craig Veltri, and you can find me on Instagram, or as my old roommate, the Tommy Thomas, used to call it, Instagirl, at Craig.Veltri. For Shelley Duff, I'm Craig Veltri, and this has been the Craig Veltri interview. With that, I'll pass. It's a Scarfire exclusive off her debut EP, The Color in Black. Here is Shelley Duff with Chasing Happiness on the Craig Veltri interview, a proud member of the Scarfire Media Podcast Network.
I get what I want.